Hello there, welcome. Chief Del here. If you're new, I do RTA content as well as RTA streaming for Epic 7. So today I'm going to go over just kind of some updates to my roster. Made a lot of changes for this season. I have not successfully pushed AMP. I do not think it'll happen this season. Hopefully in the future, though. This has been my most successful season from a points perspective, though. So we'll take a look at that. So as you can see here in World Arena, I have not a great win rate, but I do have decent amount of wins. I've enjoyed playing this season. It's been a tough meta to deal with. We're at about 2,700 points right now. I draft kind of standard aggro when I can, but I tend to get outsped when we pushed AMP earlier in the season. But I'll just go over a quick overview of my units and see what's changed. So SPP looks about the same. She's still about 300 speed. Decent effectiveness. Take her a lot as a good opener. I love picking her on 3. I don't take her on 1 because I don't have the speed or the imprints to back her up on 1. Muna looks about the same as we saw from earlier this season. Still decent effectiveness. Not much bulk, but I like running the F ring. Midnight Gala Lilius is a new addition to our roster, so she's fantastic to take into these super bulky teams. The biggest issue is Elenov, but I pre-ban Elenov and Harsetti, so I don't have to deal with Elenov, and so this Gala is really able to put in the work, and her CR push, especially if I run her plus SPP plus Genoa, she tends to push up Genoa, SPP goes, and then it's usually a clean sweep unless they have counter picks for that. Knockwell has not changed really at all. She's still on a higher F, lower speed build. Still need to fix this necklace, but we'll get there eventually. Frida is again about the same. I think I actually sped her up a little bit. She's 264. I only use her in arena, so not really an RTA unit. Moon Bunny here. A great counter pick, a great support unit. Yeah, great in DDR, great in Knockwell. The biggest issue that I have with her is that I tend to find that when I'm picking her, I'm losing a draft, and so I like to pick different units that do a lot more, but I do think that I should pick her more often, especially with this build, really solid build. Laya, I've tried to pick Laya a lot more often recently, especially when trying to deal with Harsetti teams. She's a little bulkier now, a little slower, because Harsetti can ruin the speed and it doesn't matter anyways, so try to make her bulky. Got some ER on her, which is nice, but she's really solid into these high debuff comps. A lot of people still taking Knockwell now, and I don't have an LRK to deal with that, so having Laya is really nice. I did change my Satan completely, so my Satan is much faster now. She may be moved to a super slow anti-Harsetti build eventually, but I like the fast build. It's really nice in anti-cleave, and because she's so quick, she also gets to take follow-up turns with SPP, so I would definitely second the fast Satan. I think the fast Satan works really well, and she's really fun to draft, and when she works, she works so well. But obviously Mort has kind of frustratingly pushed Satan down the ladder a little bit because her S2 is a counterattack, right, not an extra attack. So she's really reserved to be anti-cleave, which is also why I might make her a little slower, because she gets a cut that is usually enough in anti-cleave. But I like the fast Satan. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun. Shaltir, I do not think has changed at all, but here she is. Again, mostly a flan option, but I find that usually I'm not fast enough to deal with the flans with Shaltir, but it does work in lower brackets. Zio has stayed the same. He's on a damage build. I might move him to an effectiveness build one day, but for now, the damage build is nice. He does a lot of damage, and I can take him without feeling like I'm low on damage in my draft, right? I do like to take Zio a lot right now, especially in all these cleavers and stuff. A lot of people ban Zio, pre-ban Zio, Harsetti if they're cleaving, but if they're not, it's really nice to be able to take Zio with Flan early, and that's a really good situation. Blooming Litica, don't think she's changed. She's basically reserved for Guild War. Veronica, I do need to get her imprint. Once I get her imprint, I feel like I'll be able to confidently draft her more, because right now I don't want to pick her because she doesn't have the imprint, and she's really good into a Miki and into Bulbeg Corinne. But she's also nice as a speed imprint, so like she's just a great unit to have build, and she's free, and her imprints are free, so you should go get them. But she's definitely needed in this meta. I haven't been able to pick her that much, or when I do, I feel like she's really squishy and just dies. But that's usually because I don't have the other aggro units to pick with her to complement. But if you build her like super bulky and slow right now, she's still really good. Just make sure she has that 100 crit rate to proc her extra turn. Next we've got Summertime Iseria. I do not know. I don't think she's a new build. I think she's a new build for this season. She's fun to use with Harsetti, but just does not work out usually. And I find that she's mostly a Guild War and arena unit. Spirit Iceline, again, kind of reserved for Guild War and Arena right now. I didn't show Summer stats or Veronica's. Veronica's you don't want to see, trust. But Summer's you can see. And then Spirit Isoline, yeah. So Spirit Isoline is, I think she's, like, she can work. But I think if you want her to work, she needs to be like 270, 280 speed. And at that point, that gear's probably better off on someone else. For example, I made my Satan faster in exchange for Spirit Isoline dropping slower. But she's still really fun to use in Guild War and Arena, because in Guild War she can often solo a whole team if you pick her into the right team with a lot of dark units and a lot of critting units and stuff. So she's just really fun to use still. Ada, I use her all the time in Guild War. She's exceptional in Guild War. She's even good if you're trying to cleave in lower brackets or higher brackets if you have the units. But she's really fun in Guild War. I run her with Muna and Spez, and I run that triple comp. That's really, really fun in Guild War, and it wins a lot of games. AOL, I think is about the same. She's, again, a little less bulky, so I have her on Proof of Valor. She's got decent speed and decent effectiveness to strip those pesky BBKs. She's also decent in anti-cleave. And then this is a new guy on our account, my Elud. So Eternal Wanderer Ludwig. ML is really, really fun to use. I have like a go-to arena comp that I do now with Frida, ML Ludwig, Muna, and Flan. It just deletes everything. It's super, super great unless they have Harsetti. And so this is a little bit of a slower build. I definitely think that he should be faster, 245, 250, because you want, if you're soul burning with Zio, you want him to cut enough to take over the next person's opener and take that follow-up turn, so he acts like a bridge there. So definitely want him faster, but this is what I could get for him right now, and it kills pretty well, which I'm happy with. So we'll want to improve the build in the future, though. Biblis, I think, is just on trash gear. I don't think I ever pick her. Mostly a Guild War unit. Death Dealer Ray is on, I believe, the same build as we started the season with. Just nice high effectiveness to deal with those BBKs and Amikis, because he can still control them. Obviously, he's a little bit of a later pick now with Schneel. But he's still absolutely relevant and still worth taking in your ML Blessing too, for sure. Elvira, whatever. I don't even know why she's here. I think I have her for Dilbets, like in case. Genoa's on the same build as we started the season. Nice 4k attack, decent damage, decent speed for following up with SPP. I still think he's really good. I still think he's an excellent unit to take, especially if you have SPP locked on 3. But you have to pre-ban Ilanov if you're going to do that, which I do because I hate Ilanov, but just do consider that. Strays doesn't really have a place in the meta right now. If you don't have Benamar's Tachi, he's just not worth drafting. I have him on an attack ring just to make sure I hit that penetration, but I just can never find a place to use him. But if you have Benamar's Tachi, you can build him faster, although I do think LQC has a better place right now with Benamara. This is the big one, so Afternoon Soak Flan. She's on Grace of Growth right now because I'm scared of using my Mola. But she's really, really solid. She's definitely like one of the best DPS right now in the game, if not the best. She's first pickable. I first pick her. Most people do. She's insane. I have her on a speed pen set because I just don't have the great lifesteal gear, but I do think that lifesteal is going to be a better build for someone like me who wants to play more standard. But this is like a cope. I think I'm an aggro account, but I'm not really build. Obviously you don't build CC on her, so I'm just trying to max out my attack and crit damage, and because I don't have that bulk and lifesteal, I'm not too concerned about having health or defense. So here she is, but you can build her bulkier if you are a standard player where you have that lifesteal build. Next we've got Silverblade, so she's been super fun to use this meta. I've got her build on a pretty nice build. We're talking about 200 plus effectiveness, 3800 attack. Again, she gets more attack based on her effectiveness now with her new skills. So she's really, really fun to use in aggro comps. She gets banned out a lot because she is oppressive if your opponent does not have an answer for her. Obviously, you have to be worried about units like Dillabat. You have to be worried about anyone who puts up immunity like LRK or anyone that can, or Hand Guy. So she's not like god tier, but she's an exceptional 4-5 pick if you have that aggro angle on your opponent. And she's also pretty solid in ML Ilanov. She puts out a lot of damage and doesn't even care about penetration. So, if you want to let Ilanov through, I tended to pick SBA a lot into those Ilanov comps. The big killer with me is they'll go like Ilanov and they'll lock Dillabat on 3, and that is just so annoying for me to deal with, and SBA fails into that comp, right? Because Dillabat's just going to keep cycling, getting that immunity and cleansing for her team. Ocean Breeze should be the same build. Standard, high ER. You need high ER if you're going to build her and use her. She's on Soul, so she gets that big cut. Obviously struggles in units like SPP. So this guy, Taiwan, a beast, absolute menace. I bought him from the coin shop. He's so good. I love the mitigation build. You can go the damage route. The mitigation route I think is just objectively better. This level of bulk means I can take him early. I don't worry about, I don't even need, I get a lot of value from him even if I don't S3. So people take the Dillavet in response to an A Tywin a lot. And that's fine because I can still get a lot out of him just by him being able to cleanse me a little bit and providing mitigation. But if he was damaged per se, I'd be losing out a lot of his kit if I can't get to S3 early. But his multipliers are nice, so damage is a route you can go. I do think that the high effectiveness builds are pretty scary, but for me, I just wanted to go super bulky, hit that 30k benchmark, nice defense, and solid enough speed to where he's taking turns. I do think it'd be nicer if he was faster than my Genoa, so in those rare cases where you get A-Tie, Genoa, and SPP, A-Tie could def break and Genoa could sweep the team, but that is something I just don't have the gear for right now. Next is Spez. I don't have his EE, and his EE doesn't really change his kit much, especially with DDR being a later pick right now. Spez was already a late pick, so if you're taking like DDR Spez 4-5, they can ban one, and then, the other kind of gets to do their thing, or they ban the DDR most likely, and then, Spez doesn't get his sleep procs. So he's still mostly just a Guild War unit, but his damage has always been great, and I haven't changed his build at all, but I think he's always been an okay unit and a good solid late DPS into Death Break. So we have Abigail here. Abigail is nice and DPS oriented. I do think I want to shift her to a bulky build. I think the bulky builds are better. I think that as long as you're getting, she tends to hit that max injury on S3 because her multipliers are so good, even if she's not on a crit build. So I think that that's the way to go. But it's nice to have her as a secondary DPS, but I think that if you build her super high bulk and you get a lot of effectiveness, you're going to be landing Curse a lot more often, which Curse is so underrated, especially into units like Genoa, like Dragonbride Senya. That Curse is going to proc on those high attack units, and that's going to be able to let you kill them through either evasion without proccing bonus skills or any of that stuff. So I think Abigail's really good, especially for new players. If you took her from the Epic Bash event, which a lot of people like me recommended, she's excellent and she will carry you in RTA. She's so good. Next up is the Great Mortalix. I took him with one of my 15 selectors. I have him on a higher bulk speed build. I might move him to counter eventually. I gotta get some better gear. But I think the speed build is nice. He does his job by preventing the opponent from counterattacking if they're going to take a lot of units like that. He shuts down units like Aiden, and then his fear is just insane. You'd have to be wary of immunity, of course, but he still puts out a ton of control with that fear, and then again a different kind of control with his S2, his passive, allowing no one else to counterattack. And then he also does a ton of damage. That S3 penetrates the highest HP unit, and then he puts out Death Break. He works so well with Plan too with that Death Break on S1, and so he's just really good right now. I don't think he's worth taking early, but if you take him on 3 or later, he can shut down a lot of units that are super oppressive, like Amiki, like Satan, like Candy, like AU Fiend. And so he's definitely has his place in the meta now. I think his buff was pretty fun. Next is Rylet. I hate Rylet. He never works. We tried to pick him, and I think we won the game with him the other day, but awful unit. Never evades. Arbiter Vildred here. I have on a pretty standard speed torrent build. I think he's okay in anti-cleave. The biggest issue is every cleaver uses TML or Briar Witch nowadays. Everyone's moved on from the Rand cleave. Parrot cleave I haven't even seen like once this season. So everyone uses Briar, everyone uses TML. RB fails into both of those units. So unfortunately, he has kind of not been picked for me that often, but he's okay for earlier players for sure. Infinite Horizon Acades has been picked for me a lot. If you're going to let Muna through, she's kind of going to be the golden girl to deal with that. I run Soul Constellation. I think Eternus might actually be better if you can hit enough ER. I have her on Soul because I've had people who debuff my Acades at 270 ER. And so I had Soul to hit 300, but I think Eternus is probably better for her because Eternus allows you to cut even if opponents don't use non-attack skills. So like if Muna's gonna S2, your KD still gets the nice extra 15% or so cut from Eternus. So I think Eternus is definitely better for her if you can hit higher ER. Blood Moon Haste here. I have him on speed boots. I want to move those to HP eventually. I just need to craft some. But he's just been really solid. I have stopped taking him early. In the beginning of this season, my plan was to take him with Genoa. But the issue is we just got units like Mort that came out. You've got Briar Witch has had her resurgence with her EE. And so there's just a lot of answers in a Blood Moon Haste, so he's not really an early pick anymore, unfortunately, but he's still really good if you take him 4-5. I think that I need to take him more because he's really, really good and he does his job. He works really well if you're going to play tank down, and then into units like City, if you've got a cleanse, like you can prepare. He's a good unit to have ready to slow for those City drafts that I just pre-banned, so I don't have to worry about. Beta is not on gear. Elena is on some cope gear. I never really drafted her. She's super squishy. I do think that the ER build is kind of useless. I think you should go full bulk or full speed because most people are going to soul burn anyways, and so they're just going to land their debuffs on your Elena regardless. So like, might as well just double down on the bulk. So I'm thinking about changing her build up, but she's okay. She's not really, the problem with her is she's a force non-attack skill proc, which means you're going to force units like Celine, like Politis, and that's just kind of bad. And so it makes her really tough to draft into cleavers, even though she's really fun too. And when she does her job great, but I just don't think it happens that much. Spectre Tenebria, don't pick her that much. There are just so many units with reach nowadays. Either AoE units, units that have AoEs that aren't built damage but still have good multis, like a Tywin, and so, or units like with splash damage, like Genoa, like a Miki. And so she just does not. She's just so hard to fit her into a draft. And if you are, you're taking her at like 5 pick. So kind of unfortunate. Mercedes here, she's actually got, this is an extra attack, so she's actually kind of a niche, like anti Mort pick now, and I want to try her as that. I have her on a PvE build. You can see that nice huge level of attack or health we've got there, 7,700. That's crazy, dude. But she's just on a PvE build, but I do actually think she may have a place in this meta, so I'm going to try to pick her some more often, and we'll report back on that. Politis I've got on a pretty solid damage build. Maybe a little more speed here would be better, but she's been a great pick for me. I take her all the time. I do try to take her a little less now that I have AU Fiend, but before I had AU Fiend, she's just excellent. I have her on Fairy Tail. I might move her off of this because I think that Abyssal Crown getting procs is better off, and Fairy Tail is just a niche Genoa counter who he isn't seen as much anymore. Lionheart's just so hard to pick. She's just not bulky enough, and you need to pick her with mitigation. She's mostly a cleave unit nowadays to take out people who bring counterattacks, so it's kind of unfortunate. LQC, I do actually think has a place. You can build her super slow on attack boots and use her into City, which I do think I'm going to move to attack boots here in a bit. So she's really nice into City. You can build her nice and bulky and stuff, and then she's also really nice if you build her super fast on Venomar's Tachi. So one of those two builds does work. I'm kind of in the middle right now, and it's because I don't pick her that much. Bellion, don't think we changed. Pretty standard counterattacking unit, used for that souls, stopping your opponent from using souls. Frida obviously has hurt her stocks a little bit, but she still has her place in the meta for sure. I know some people who lock her on 3-pick all the time, so her passive is still very, very good. Alencia, I don't really pick her even much more. She did get her buff. She does more injury now, and I just think that maybe I should move to like either a super bulky build, or I can move to like a bulky slow build and use her with City or into City. But I just don't think that this like middle speed build kind of works out, so I don't really pick her that often, unfortunately. APOC, I would love to pick her more, but again, she just gets CC'd too easily. They need to bring back Crimson Seed, and then she'll be good again. But yeah, she's just hard to pick. Celine has been exceptional this meta. Unfortunately, I get reamed by Celine way more than I get to pick her. But there's so many non-attack skills nowadays. So many force proc non-attack skills too, like Elena and stuff. And so she's just really, really good. People do have a tendency to pick her too often. So definitely try to like mentally go through that. But other than that, she's really, really good. A unit that we've added to the pool here is going to be Ruel. Ruel is amazing. She is fantastic as an anti-cleave. She's fantastic in standard against City. Her ability to give damage reduction on the S2 is really, really nice. And then her self-revive plus reviving someone else to full health with invincibility is amazing. I do think you need Guardian Ice for her to work as best as possible. Idol's Cheer is pretty cope for me, but Guardian Ice, her healing and her ability to keep the team alive is just so good, and she's great because she makes your opponent have to prioritize her, but if they prioritize her, you have other units that can do stuff, and then she's also really hard to kill, and so that makes her a really, really good unit. So I love Ruel. Definitely my recommendation for taking from ML Blessing 1, but I'll probably do another video on that some other time. Another addition to the team is Dark Corvus here. We've picked him for fun a little bit, but he's definitely a Guild War only unit, but he does his job so well in Guild War. I like having this little ER here is nice, but I do think a counter build is definitely better because you get that skill cooldown reduction on him as well with counterattacks. But this is just my standard triple HP, or I got 2 HP and then an F set as well, or an ER set, so it's a solid build. New addition that I've been really happy to have, I took for my Headhunt, I took Abyssal Euphine here. I think she's in a really solid build. Nice bulk. Did I mod something out here? I feel like this bulk is higher than it used to be. Anyways, she's got really solid bulk, really solid defense. You need to hit that 2k threshold. And then she's been really, really fun to use in anti-cleave and just in standard in general. She's a really cool unit. I love picking her. And then when her S3 goes, it's so satisfying. I have her on Holy Sack. I've been bouncing between Holy Sack and Elbrus. There was a game that we lost because she wasn't on Holy Sack, and there was a game that we lost because she wasn't on Elbrus. So it's like you kind of got to figure out what works best for you. But I do think the ability for Holy Sack to just like bring you back is just so nice. The only issue is a lot of cleavers again use Briar Witch and stuff, and so Holy Sack is useless in those scenarios. So do consider that. But she's been super fun to play around with. Bravi here, I've not actually taken a lot at all. Unfortunately, Mort just kind of ruins her. And I do think the counterattack build is still the standard go-to build, but she's just really hard to use nowadays. And we also have Flan to deal with Candy now, so you don't need to take her into Candy. Rowana here, again, just a PvE build. Nothing crazy. You don't really take her in RTA. Harseti, I wish I didn't pull her, because I feel obligated to build her, and this build sucks. This build just doesn't do enough of anything. It doesn't have high enough effectiveness. It doesn't have enough damage. And it's got too much speed and stuff, so she's just unfortunately hard to use. There are some people who pick Har City all the time, and they have built their account around her and have a lot of fun. I hate those people because she sucks to play against. She just makes the game unfun, and a unit I really don't like. I am thinking about swapping around her build some more, and I'm thinking about, like I talked about throughout the video, dropping the speed of a lot of my other units in order to compensate and have an option to take into Har City, because I do want to release her off my pre-bans eventually. But for now, she's going to stick on that pre-ban list until I figure out how to deal with her. Next up, we've got Albedo. Love this build. I went super high bulk counter, HP boot, and this does so much damage. I've got my 3F. I bottled my 3F a little bit up to 24. I do have 2 other copies, but I'm going to save them in case I get anyone else. But she does so much damage on a counter 3F build. Even her S2, I've had like almost like kill entire cleave teams before. And then if she gets like a counter attack, it just chunks out so much damage. Super great. Also really nice into Sylvan Sage, which is a unit I see a lot as I like to pick a lot of debuffers. So great option into that, or anyone else who has damage reduction like that. So super fun unit to use. Could not recommend more, especially on this counter 3F build. Next, we've got a Miki, so she kind of had her rise and fall in one season. I still think she's really good. Don't get me wrong, she's a really weird unit. She wants 2 stats. She wants ER and attack. And so really weird unit to build, and I think that a lot of people didn't have gear for her at first, but people have obviously been searching for it. But she's really fun to use. She is just the best anti-cleave option right now. The biggest issue that hurt her was when Mort came out and stopped her from counterattacking. But if she's Miki's free, and you should build her 100%. She still has her place in the meta. There are still people I know who target their pre-ban specifically, like they pre-ban Mort, and maybe Rowana or something, and they pick a Miki and they have a blast. Or like Mort, you probably pre-ban like Mort Ilinoff, right? And a Miki just pops off. She's so good. And there are options to deal with her, but I find in a lot of drafts, I can just take her on 3, 4, 5 and just have her do her job. She does struggle into super bulky teams, so you have to keep that in mind, but other than that, she's exceptionally well and a great unit, worth building, and free. Got BBK, she's on the same build as we started the season with, and she has, I don't pick her as often now because of Veronica, but she's still a great option to take late, especially if you are playing against Illinois and stuff, since she doesn't penetrate, and so BBK is still a really solid unit. Crimson Armin, I've just got on my backup protection set here. If I ever need another mitigation and Albedo's taken, Crimson Armin is my backup option. I do think the HP boot is the way to go, because I think that if you're going to be playing against a slow player, and you don't have your other mitigation options, I think Carmen's pretty solid to have. But do consider that this is kind of a shit build, and you want a lot more HP than this, especially if I'm going 0 speed. And then last but not least, we've got Navy Captain Landy. Unfortunately, Candy has been reserved to like the 5 pick. And she's so cool, super fun unit, but Flan plus Harsetti plus Mort has just ruined Candy. It was the final blow, knocked her out of the meta. It's really unfortunate because she's a really cool unit and I love her design and stuff, but Mort just stopping her counterattacks and then Flan just being able to one-shot her on S3 most of the time. It's really unfortunate and it sucks, but she's still a great unit for PvE, and she still has her place. I've lost to her being picked late still, even with Mort out, and then I've picked her and won late. But she also never counterattacks, so it's kind of a lie there. You guys have seen that. But that kind of covers it. So the main additions we talked about were Satan. We moved faster. We added Veronica to the roster. We added Flan to the roster. Silverblade Araminta. Abigail, Mort, Abyssal Euphine, Dark Corvus, Ruel, Harsetti, Yamiki, Albedo. So yeah, definitely built and added a few more units. And I wanted to just show you that to you guys. So I hope you enjoy. Again, I stream every weekday morning from just sometime in the morning in Eastern time. And as well, we have a guild, Oracles. If you need a spot, we have one spot available now. But you should join our Discord. The link is in the description. And I'm growing, and you guys' support has put me at 1,000 subscribers. It's been super great. But let's just keep pushing. And if you guys have any questions or anything, please reach out in the Discord. Please reach out in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay. Thank you. Bye.